Welcome to our Rapid Fire Wednesday Q&A for corporate immigration professionals. I'm Kimberley Robidoux, a partner in San Diego, and I'm joined today, as always, with Miki Matrician, who's the co-managing partner of our Boston office. How are you doing today, Nikki?
I'm well. Hi, Kim.
Awesome. All right, so today we're going to discuss considerations for international travel, as this is the time of year that many foreign nationals, as well as U.S. citizens, plan vacations and visits to see their families and their home country. And so, with that, we're going to discuss what global mobility professionals and foreign nationals need to factor in if they're going to be traveling abroad and returning to the U.S. So, first, we are telling people that if it is possible to avoid traveling internationally, it is best to do so at this time, which is not to travel internationally, just given a lot of things that are going on. And based on the January 2025 executive order, we have been anticipating the issuance of travel bans for certain countries, but that announcement has not dropped yet. It's still possible that it is coming down the pike, so we're being cautious with travel going forward right now. So, second, there is heightened scrutiny and extreme vetting at the Customs and Border Protection ports of entry. We have been hearing that more people than in the past have been pulled into secondary inspections for lengthy questioning, lasting sometimes several hours. So, Mickey, is this what you're seeing as well?
Yes, absolutely, it is. We're hearing of much more intensive questioning at Customs and Border Protection, and CBP is exercising wide discretion to turn away people that we previously wouldn't have seen turn away. In particular, it's important that foreign nationals seek the advice of immigration counsel before they leave the US and ideally before they finalize their travel plans. And so, for anyone who has had any kind of brush with the law, however minor, even traffic violations, even if it didn't result in a conviction or even an arrest, it's important to have an attorney review their situations before leaving the United States. And there's also been an increase in people having their visa stamps revoked by the State Department in the last few months. We discussed student visa revocations and termination of student status in CVIS in past Rapid Fire Wednesday episodes. But DHS seems to have run the names of people who had hits with the criminal history database. And as we discussed, people without any criminal records also have had their visa stamps revoked, sometimes for activities such as protests or publishing or posting about ideologies that the current administration doesn't agree with.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mickey, that it's important for global mobility professionals and HR to urge their foreign national employees to consult immigration counsel before finalizing any travel arrangements, especially given this fluid landscape and who knows what's coming down the pike. So, for people who have vetted their situation and still decide to travel, what should they consider as far as documentation, especially if they need to apply for a new visa stamp to come back to the US?
Yeah, so they'll need to have a passport that's valid for at least 6 months beyond the expiration of the validity period of the petition for the category for which they're entering the US. In addition, they'll need valid documentation that underlies their status. So, for visa categories approved by USCIS, like H-1Bs and O-1s, and certain people in L-1, TN, E3 visa categories that were processed by USCIS, they would need their 797 approval notice. They should also carry a letter from their employer, and it's also a good idea to carry a printed copy of the petition filing if possible. Consulates are busy in peak travel periods, so there can be a prolonged wait time to get a visa interview slot if needed. Sometimes people are eligible for interview waivers if they have previously held a visa in the same category that expired less than 12 months ago. And that time period of 12 months, that's an updated policy. Under the Biden administration, the interview waivers were available for people whose visas expired within the last 48 months. So that eligibility has been narrowed. Even if someone is exempt from the visa interview at the time that they submit their application, the consular officer can still decide to call them into an interview. And then another update is that, the State Department now requires that the Form DS-160, that online visa application form, must be submitted at least 48 working hours before a visa interview can be scheduled at a U.S. embassy or consulate. So this change affects the timing of the interview bookings and requires applicants to plan ahead. If an applicant submits a DS-160 to correct an error after scheduling an appointment, They need to update their appointment profile with the new DS-160 confirmation number. And unlike in the past, simply showing up with a new confirmation page plus the old confirmation page, that's not going to work anymore. So it might mean that the applicant might have to reschedule their appointment if the updating of the Form DS-160 is needed after the appointment has already been scheduled. And then, just in general, the State Department is applying a higher level of scrutiny to visa applications. They're also reviewing social media accounts. So it's really important for foreign nationals to know what's on their social media and how have they described their sponsored role. Also, any visa application is subject to additional screening under administrative processing, where the consulate could require additional security checks or ask for additional documents or information. And so we recommend that human resources and global mobility remind foreign nationals that if they are placed in administrative processing, to notify them. And then if any additional documentation or information is requested by the consulate, to not respond independently without first consulting the company's immigration counsel.
Yeah, Mickey, you're absolutely right there. It's important for HR and global mobility to know when that foreign national employee is traveling so that they can help the business have a contingency plan in the event of a delay returning to the US. So once the visa is issued, which would be a good thing, what else should people know before entering the US beyond what we mentioned earlier?
Yeah, it's important that foreign nationals are prepared and know exactly what is in the petition filing that was approved and how the position was explained. Foreign nationals should make sure also their social media, like LinkedIn profiles, are up to date with the current role and consistent with the approved petition. It's also a good idea for foreign nationals to carry evidence of their continued employment with the sponsoring company by carrying their most recent pay statements, which should ideally be printed instead of viewed on their phones. And then we also discussed in a previous Rapid Fire Wednesday episode what to know about CBP device searches and the inspections process. So, it's really important to know what to expect and how to prepare ahead of time before they get to the port of entry. And foreign nationals should obviously check with global mobility and human resources about any company procedures for how to prepare in advance of company owned devices if they're going to be carrying those.
Really good tips, Mickey. Thanks for that. So, I guess that's a wrap for today's session. In our next episode, we will discuss travel considerations for people selected in the H-1B cap lottery. So, if you don't already, please follow us on our LinkedIn page for WR integration as well as our individual profiles. And we also transcribe each and every episode of Rapid Fire Wednesday and post it to a weekly newsletter that you can subscribe to. And the link to subscribe will be in the video description. Until next week, see you later.
Thanks, Kim.